Look at a hazel eye near a window. Out at the rim, it reads olive green. Closer to the pupil, there is amber in it, almost copper. Then the person turns their head, the light drops off, and the same eye goes brown. Nothing inside that eye changed. Not the pigment, not the structure, not in those 2 seconds. The only thing that moved was the light. That is the small mystery. The larger one is older. For generations, hazel eyes have been treated as a clue, evidence of an unusual branch somewhere in the family tree, an ancestor from somewhere else, a line that came in from outside. Brown was dominant. Blue was recessive. Hazel was the strange middle nobody could account for, so it got a story instead of an explanation. Modern DNA has taken that story apart. There is no hazel gene. There never was one. Hazel appears when several parts of the human pigment system settle into a very particular balance. And the road to that answer runs through a cave in northern Spain, a skeleton 7,000 years old, and a forensic laboratory that can name a stranger's eye color from a swab, right up until the eyes are hazel. Start with the eye itself, because the chemistry comes first. The front of the iris holds cells that make melanin, the same broad family of pigment that shapes skin and hair. Load an iris with it, and most of the light that strikes it gets absorbed. What comes back to you is brown. Strip that pigment down to almost nothing, and the light behaves differently. It scatters inside the tissue and returns as blue or gray. Blue eyes are not blue the way paint is blue. They are blue the way the sky is. That chemical range has a genetic address. It sits on chromosome 15. Inside a gene called HERC2 is a small control region, and its job is to regulate the gene next door, OCA2. OCA2 helps govern the pigment-making machinery inside the cell. The HERC2 region works on it like a dimmer switch, deciding how hard that machinery runs in the iris. One common version of the switch keeps OCA2 activity high and tends to go with darker eyes. Another turns it down and tracks strongly with lighter ones. That single dimmer accounts for a huge share of the difference between brown and blue. It is one of the most powerful common variants known in human appearance, and hazel refuses to sit at either end of it. Hazel lives in the difficult ground between those two ends. There is enough pigment to lay down brown, amber, and gold, but not enough to cover the scattering underneath. And the pigment is not spread evenly. One hazel iris carries a warm ring close to the pupil and a cooler, greener field farther out. Another is flecked. Small points of gold and brown scattered across a lighter background, like sediment in shallow water. Here is the part that surprises people. There is no green pigment in a normal human iris. None. The green you see is an effect, produced by pigment, structure, and scattered light working together. Change the lamp. Change the camera exposure. Put a green shirt on the person, and a different part of the pattern takes over. The eye has not transformed. Your access to it has. Which means hazel was never one clean biological category. Two people can use the same word for genuinely different pigment maps and both be right. The chromosome 15 switch explains the broad direction. It does not explain why two hazel eyes can look so different, or why the same major setting can produce different colors. That answer lies in the rest of the control panel. A person can inherit one setting at that switch and still carry other variants that change how much pigment gets made, where it gets deposited, and how light travels back out through the iris. The old classroom chart, brown dominant, blue recessive, predicts plenty of families correctly. It just does not describe the whole system. That is why parents occasionally have a child whose eyes seem to break the rules. The rules were always a simplification of something larger. The dimmer on chromosome 15 is the master dial. It is not the control panel. Then the map exploded. A study of nearly 195,000 people uncovered 50 genetic regions linked to eye color that had not been identified before. Some connected to melanin biology, which you would expect. Others connected to something else entirely, the shape and microscopic structure of the iris itself. Not how much pigment there is, how the tissue holding it is built. That reframed the whole problem. Eye color is not one pigment governed by one switch. It is a network. A handful of large effect variants set the broad direction, and dozens of smaller ones adjust the shade, saturation, pattern, and the way light leaves the eye. With brown and blue, the big switch often shouts loudly enough to drown out the rest. In the middle, it does not. Everything else becomes visible. The most revealing cases are exactly those middle ones. Recent work examined people whose visible eye color did not match what their main HERC2 setting predicted. Intermediate eyes made up much of that mismatch. The same research tied variants in HERC2 and IRF4 to stronger color contrast between the inner and outer zones of the iris, the pattern known as central heterochromia. Gold at the center, green at the rim. That may be why some eyes are described as hazel or green, even when the main genetic switch points somewhere simpler. So two hazel-eyed people do not need matching genetic recipes. And two people with the same major switch setting do not have to look anything alike. Hazel is where the modifiers show their hand. The biology made sense now. Its age still did not. To reach the deeper origin, the trail had to leave living families entirely. In a cave in northern Spain called La Braña, researchers recovered the remains of a hunter-gatherer who lived around 7,000 years ago. His genome carried the important light eye version near HERC2 and OCA2, but several of his skin pigmentation variants were still in the darker, ancestral state. The strongest reconstruction gives him dark skin and, most likely, blue eyes. He was not the first hazel-eyed person. Nobody is claiming that. What he demonstrates is more useful and more unsettling if you have absorbed the usual picture of prehistoric Europe. Lighter eyes and lighter skin did not travel through the past as a single package. They came apart. Combinations that seem ordinary today were not always ordinary, and the Stone Age did not obey the color categories we use now. Wider ancient DNA evidence pushes it further. After the Ice Age, the major light eye variant was extremely common in several western and northern hunter-gatherer groups, yet far less common in groups farther east and southeast. Light skin variants followed a different distribution again. Eye color, skin color, and ancestry were already drifting along partly separate paths thousands of years ago. That is the end of any idea that one visible trait points back to one complete ancient look. Prehistoric groups carried different pieces of the pigment system, and those pieces rose and fell as populations expanded, disappeared, met, and mixed. And after the Ice Age, Western Eurasia did nothing but move. Hunter-gatherer populations spread into new ground and mixed along shifting frontiers. Farmers arrived from Anatolia carrying ancestry that had not been there before. Later migrations rearranged the landscape again. Every movement carried more than an eye color variant. It carried the master dimmer, dozens of modifiers, and everything else besides. Each generation dealt them out into new combinations. Pigment settings that had once been more common in different ancient groups could now meet inside one family. That process never produced a single Hazel genotype. It produced many roots into the same intermediate range. One combination leaves more amber near the pupil. Another thins the pigment across the iris while keeping darker flecks. A third creates something one person calls green and the next calls hazel. Neither is wrong, because the border is not in the eye. It is in the language. Ancient genomes can tell us when a variant became common or rare in a sampled population. They cannot reconstruct every intermediate pattern, especially when the category itself has no sharp biological edge. Selection probably shaped some of these shifts. Exactly why particular eye colors climbed in frequency is still debated. The deep history, then, is a history of moving parts. And its strongest confirmation comes from a place built to do the exact opposite, to pin a person down. When a forensic laboratory recovers DNA with no face attached, eye color is one of the appearance traits it can try to predict. For clearly blue and clearly brown eyes, model performance reaches roughly 94%. Then it falls sharply the moment the eyes are neither clearly blue nor clearly brown. Hazel sits directly inside that blind spot. The reason is the whole story in miniature. Blue and brown sit near the ends of the range, where the strongest switch usually dominates, and the prediction has something loud to follow. Hazel sits in the overlap, where smaller variants matter, pigment placement matters, iris structure matters, and the human habit of naming color matters too. The probability does not concentrate. It spreads across competing labels because several genetic roots can arrive at a similar-looking eye. More markers can sharpen the estimate. They cannot turn a continuous spectrum into 3 tidy boxes. And one more thing matters, because it is the source of the myth. An eye color panel is designed to estimate appearance. It is not designed to estimate ancestry. Frequencies do differ between populations, but testing where someone's family came from requires patterns spread across the genome. A Hazel result, on its own, does not carry that evidence. It never did. So come back to the eye at the window. Green at the rim, gold near the center, brown as the light falls away. DNA's answer is not ambiguous. Hazel eyes have no single hidden birthplace. They are not the mark of a lost people, a vanished tribe, or one romantic ancestor who came in from somewhere else. Their deep origin is a pigment system shared by every human being alive, later light eye variants layered on top of it, and thousands of years of reshuffling that can reach the same intermediate color by more than one road. That green and gold and brown is not a fossil left behind by one ancestor. It is a living boundary between pigment states, old variants meeting in a new arrangement, in you. Hazel eyes really do reflect deep human history. The secret they are keeping is connection, not separation. If your eyes are hazel, what do people call them most often? Green, gold, or brown? Tell us in the comments, and subscribe for more DNA history hidden inside the traits we stopped noticing.